The call came while I was standing in a checkout line, holding ornaments I wouldn't be allowed to hang. My mother didn't ease into it. She didn't soften her tone. We all agreed you're not welcome for Christmas. Not I decided. Not I'm sorry. We all agreed. I remember the beep of the scanner. The cashier asking if I wanted a receipt. Life moving forward while something inside me stopped. My name is Alara Monroe. I'm 35. Old enough to recognize when a decision has been made long before the conversation happens. I'm the daughter who fixes problems quietly, who pays things just this once, until just this once becomes expected. Asked her what I'd done. She exhaled like I was exhausting her. Your sister's overwhelmed. She needs this holiday to be calm. We talked about it. We. Again. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her who'd been paying the mortgage since Dad's temporary setback. I didn't mention the utilities, the repairs, the catering I'd covered so Christmas could still look perfect. I said, okay. When I hung up, I stood in my car for a long moment. Then I opened my banking app. The $2,870 mortgage auto payment, canceled. Electric, water, internet, canceled. The $6,000 holiday catering charge I'd paid, without a word, refunded. Each tap felt calm, methodical, final. By evening, my phone started vibrating nonstop. Missed calls piled up, 10, 20, 30, until it hit 42. Messages blurred together. Did something mess up? Call me now. This isn't funny. I placed the phone face down. Because somewhere between the checkout line and that silence, I realized something terrifying and powerful. They hadn't uninvited me. They'd uninvited the one thing holding Christmas together. I didn't answer the calls that night. Not when my mother rang again. Not when my father followed with a text that just said, pick up. I poured a glass of wine and let the silence stretch. By morning, the tone changed. My sister, Madeline, finally texted. Did you seriously cancel the payments? No hello. No confusion. Just accusation, like I'd unplugged something that belonged to her. The truth was simple, even if they'd never admit it. The house wasn't really my parents' anymore. Not functionally. After Dad's early retirement turned into months of nothing and Mom's credit cards quietly maxed out, I stepped in. First the utilities. Then the mortgage. Then groceries. Repairs. Catering. Christmas. They called it help. I knew better. It was dependency dressed up as family. Madeline had moved back home 2 years ago after quitting another job she swore was toxic. She took the master bedroom. She set rules. She decided moods. And somehow, I became the outsider, funding the whole thing while being treated like a guest who overstayed. That afternoon, my mother finally left a voicemail. Her voice shook this time. Alara, the mortgage didn't go through. The catering company is saying there's a balance. I think there's been a mistake. I listened to it twice. There hadn't been a mistake. There had been an assumption that I'd keep absorbing the cost of being excluded. That I'd show up anyway. Apologize. Fix it. Like always. I deleted the voicemail. Because for the first time, the pressure wasn't on my chest anymore. It had shifted. And they were starting to feel it. By the second day, the calls stopped pretending to be polite. My father rang from an unknown number. I answered out of curiosity. Alara, what are you doing? He snapped, skipping hello. You can't just shut everything off. I leaned against my kitchen counter, staring at the snow starting to fall outside my window. I can, I said. I did. There was a pause, long enough for me to picture him pacing the living room I'd been paying for. Your mother is beside herself, he said. Your sister's stressed. Christmas is in 3 days. I almost laughed. Almost. So I'm uninvited, I said slowly, but my money isn't. That's not fair, he shot back. This is family. Family. The word landed wrong. I reminded him, quietly, carefully, that the mortgage was in their name. The utilities too. That I'd never been obligated. That I'd helped because I wanted to. His voice dropped. You're punishing us. No. I was stopping. That night, Madeline sent a voice note. Her tone was sharp, brittle. You're embarrassing us, she said. Mom's calling banks. Dad's freaking out. If you have an issue with me, just say it. There it was. The deflection. Make it personal. Make it petty. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed again. Finally, I sent one sentence. I respected the group decision. Nothing else. An hour later, my mother texted, "We never said you weren't part of the family." I stared at that lie until the screen dimmed. Because the truth was clearer than ever now. They didn't see me as a daughter. They saw me as a resource. And resources, once they stop flowing, become a problem. 3 days before Christmas, I found out how disposable I really was. A neighbor sent me a photo. It was the front of my parents' house, my childhood home, decorated like a magazine spread. Lights glowing. Wreath perfectly centered. A banner stretched across the porch that read, "Family only Christmas." My sister had posted it first. Smiling. Wine glass raised. Caption: "Protecting our peace this year." I felt the air leave my lungs. Then came the second photo. A screenshot this time, from a group chat I'd apparently been removed from weeks ago. Messages stacked on top of each other. "She's being dramatic. She'll calm down. She always caves." My mother's message was last. If she really loved us, she wouldn't do this right before Christmas. That was the moment something inside me finally broke and settled. They weren't shocked I'd been uninvited. They were shocked I'd stopped paying. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I sat on my couch and watched the light fade from the windows, the same way it used to when I'd stay late fixing problems no one thanked me for. That night, my father showed up at my door. He looked smaller somehow. Tired. His voice dropped when he said my name. "You've made your point," he said. "Now, let's fix this." I didn't invite him in. "Fix what?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "You know what I mean." I did. But for the first time, I wasn't interested in fixing their version of broken. Because what I'd just discovered, publicly, painfully, was that my absence didn't hurt their hearts. It only hurt their image. And that changed everything. After my father left, I sat alone in the quiet and let the truth settle fully for the first time. I wasn't grieving Christmas. I was grieving the role I'd been cast in without my consent. The dependable daughter. The backup plan. The invisible solution. I replayed every moment I'd ignored. The way my mother only called when something was due, how Madeline spoke to me like staff, how love always showed up as an invoice. I'd mistaken responsibility for belonging. By morning, the hurt had cooled into clarity. This wasn't about revenge fueled by rage. I didn't want chaos. I wanted balance. I wanted them to finally see what they'd built on my silence. So I did what I'd always done best. I organized. I pulled bank statements. Saved screenshots. Dates. Amounts. Every transfer labeled temporary help. I listed the mortgage months I'd covered. The utilities. The repairs. The catering deposit. Then I called an attorney. Not to sue. Not yet. Just to understand my leverage. By afternoon, I drafted one email, short, professional, emotionless. No accusations. No explanations. Just facts, totals, and a final line. This arrangement has ended. I scheduled it to send the next morning. Because the most effective revenge isn't loud. It's when the person who depended on your sacrifice realizes, too late, that you were never obligated to make it. And Christmas Eve was the perfect day for that realization to arrive. The email went out at 8 a.m. sharp. I didn't watch for replies. I made coffee. I let the quiet exist. For the first time in years, no one needed me to fix anything before breakfast. By 8:17, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Ilara, what is this?" she asked, her voice tight, controlled in that way that meant panic was clawing just beneath it. "It's a record," I said, "of what I paid. And notice that I'm done." "You blindsided us," she snapped. "You could have talked to us first." I smiled faintly. "You did talk. Remember? We all agreed." She went silent. Minutes later, Madeline called. She didn't yell this time. Her voice shook. "They're saying the bank might flag the missed payment. Do you know what that does to credit?" "Yes," I said. "I do. "You're doing this to punish me," she said. "No," I replied. "I'm doing this because you didn't see me as family. Just funding." By noon, my father texted asking to meet. Neutral ground. A cafe near the bank. He arrived with paperwork in his hands, eyes rimmed red. "We're scrambling," he admitted. "We didn't realize how much you were covering." I let that sit. Then I slid a printed summary across the table. Numbers. Dates. Totals. He stared at it like it was written in another language. "This isn't revenge," I said calmly. "It's transparency." Outside, snow fell gently. Inside, the illusion they'd built of effort-free holidays and endless support collapsed line by line. And for the first time, they couldn't argue with the math. They could only face it. By Christmas Eve night, the house was quiet. Not the peaceful kind. The hollow, unplugged silence of something that had finally run out of power. My father called once more, his voice lower than I'd ever heard it. "We had to cancel the catering," he said. "Your mother's embarrassed. Madeline's furious." I pictured the empty dining table, the lights still blinking without an audience. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant only that I was sorry it had come to this. Then he asked the question I knew was coming. "Can we work something out? Just for this month?" I closed my eyes, counted my breath. "No," I said, "not like before." That word, before, hung between us. That night, my sister finally sent a long message. Paragraphs this time. Accusations softened with panic. She said I'd ruined Christmas. That mom hadn't slept. That dad looked old. She never apologized. I didn't reply, because something inside me had already healed enough to stop needing it. Christmas morning came quietly. No calls. No chaos. I made breakfast for one and opened a window to let the cold air in. It felt clean. Later that afternoon, my mother texted a single line. "We didn't realize how much we were asking of you." I stared at it for a long time. They were close, but they still didn't quite get it. And that's when I realized the story wasn't over yet. Because understanding isn't the same as accountability. And accountability was still waiting, right around the corner. The final call came 2 days after Christmas. My parents had met with the bank. With a financial advisor. With reality. My father's voice was steady this time. "We're refinancing," he said. "Downsizing. Selling the house in spring." I leaned back in my chair, listening. Not with relief, not with guilt, but with distance. "That sounds responsible," I said. There was a pause. Then my mother spoke, softer than I'd ever heard her. "We should have never made you carry this," she said, "and then pushed you out." That was the closest thing to accountability I was going to get. "I didn't want to be carried," I replied. "I wanted to belong." Silence. They asked if I'd come by sometime. No holiday. No pressure. Just coffee. "Maybe," I said. And for the first time, I meant it honestly, without obligation attached. After the call, I deleted the old budget spreadsheets from my laptop. Closed the folder labeled family. It felt ceremonial. Necessary. Here's the truth I learned. Revenge doesn't always look like destruction. Sometimes it looks like withdrawal. I didn't scream. I didn't shame them publicly. I didn't demand apologies that would have come too late anyway. I simply stopped paying the cost of being excluded. And in doing so, I finally gave myself the one thing they never did. A seat at my own table. Where I am welcome.